December 10th meeting of the Park and Recreation Commission. Just do quick updates for commissioners. At least we have Kay is online, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And we're at 4 right now, so that's three out of the 4 of us.
Correct.
Peter, anything?
75%. Nothing for me.
Okay, Kate? We're not hearing you if you're,
You're muted.
That was a struggle bus. Nothing for me.
okay. I just have a couple things. I do have a meeting this week with the chair of the select board and the chair of the school committee to discuss the usage at 36 King Street. Trying to work some things out there. And then the chairman of the select board did send out an invitation to all of the boards and committees if we're interested in having a joint meeting at some point. I know we have one
Technically, yeah.
scheduled for the appointment, but this was more broadly if there are issues or discussions that we want to have.
For all committees?
Yep. Or say, like, to come in individually, not all at once. So if we decide at some point, we don't have to do it now, but if we think about some topics that we want to discuss with the select board, we can work on scheduling that for some time, probably in the new year. That's about it. All right, so I guess we have a discussion about our photo policy. We're going to move up on the agenda.
Yeah, so I'm gonna move up front where everybody can see.
Had to accept the meeting notes the last time or something first.
With
No.
that, now we're going to skip
Come on.
over that.
Oh, you waiting for me?
Yeah.
Well, we're getting your,
Well, let's just say
There we
to
go.
be somewhere.
All right. Yeah, my couch. Can you guys all get together for a quick photo? Just can you guys get together for a quick photo, please?
Photo?
Yeah, just do a quick, just hop on for a quick photo.
you can reach here. Come on.
No, you guys can go over there. Go ahead, Alicia, please. Mark, can you go over there for a photo, please? Thanks. Where you going?
Around.
Around.
I'm always in the back. Comes with the
Awesome, actually, I just realized, everybody but Alicia, you can't be in the picture. You're in no photo. So can you go over there? Nice. That's what it's like, you have to tell the kids, they can't be in
that was.
pictures. So,
Rude demonstration was.
I appreciate that you guys want to make a no photo policy, easy for people. But a lot of times, many times, we'll call the parent, because we have this great picture we want to put on the cover of our brochure or throw on a Facebook post. And we'll say to them, hey, we have this great picture of so-and-so. We'd like to add it to, our social media page. And you said no photo. I did. Yeah. Oh, no, you can just take that off. Many, 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 many times. We want, and any other parks and rec departments across the state are moving to make it a little bit more difficult. And that if it's really important to people, that they'll send us an email and just ask to opt out of our photos. I don't think that's too much for people to ask. I mean, like I said, you guys want a click box. But 9 times out of 10, every time we follow up with that, it's been, they didn't even realize it. Please share the picture. I think when people see that, they get scared and they think that, the picture is going everywhere. We have a very small amount of places things go, our Facebook page, our Instagram, our brochures, and a couple emails every once in a while, constant contact that goes directly to everybody else. So I know that you guys wanted to hear some more about it. We adopted this policy here, which is pretty much word for word, the Shrewsbury Parks and Recreation Department's policy. They said it's been great. They've had, many, they have not had a lot of people ask to be opted out of pictures. They've had no issues with people being in pictures. I did send something out to the Mass Parks and Recreation weekly email that goes out. I had some feedback coming in. Most of the people say they buried in their waivers so that people don't even realize it's in there. And then if they want to come out of the picture, then they will come and find us after the fact, generally speaking. But overall, I think there's a pretty clear policy. It's gonna be in our camp docs. In fact, it's in our camp docs right now, just as a trial period. And we've had 2 emails come in, asking people to come up to ask for people to not be in photos. We have a booklet. Another thing that happens, is we gotta look through documents and documents and documents when we do have photos, when we do go back, identify the child, identify who's not no photo. We have to go through all those things to make sure it's a constant, looking for information. When this is gonna give us a very clear cut, small group of people that genuinely can't be in photos and can't be shared. So I'd like you guys to adopt this policy so we can make it official. But it's difficult for staff, it's difficult for the parents. They don't even understand what they're doing half the time when there's that on. And it makes kids unhappy when we gotta pull them from a picture. Can you stand on the edge so they can blur you out, or crop you up? We don't tell them that at the time, but we're constantly reconfiguring kids and photos to adopt, to make sure that we're getting this thing that parents not even sure they put in the right information. So that's all I got.
Questions?
So I think a couple things to add, just
Yeah.
so that everybody is kind of, so number one is, since we adopted MyRec 8 years ago, we've never changed any kind of our photo policies. It's what we built into the system, really what we brought over from our old system.
Yep.
In that time, we have realized that there are things that, need to be updated, this being one of them. And to the point that Kaz is making, one of the things that we adopted a couple years ago was Camp Docs. So Camp Docs is a much more thorough program. For those of you who have kids in the programming, you guys have probably done the Camp Docs program. You put in all your medical information, all of your emergency contacts. That, one of the things is that, this photo policy is much clearer in Camp Docs than it necessarily is when you're going through the MyRec registration. So essentially what we're doing is rather than, on MyRec saying, hey, you're going to be yes photo, no photo, in this process that you're doing once a year. So not only can you opt out of it every year when we start Camp Docs over, you can also opt back into it. So it just makes it a little cleaner. And
Camp Docs is a once a year.
Camp Docs is, yeah. So
Okay.
we upload that once a year. It just went through. We just did the re-update for this year. So
December 2nd.
if anybody's getting an email every single day, just hop on there and just fix whatever
You
little
have to be
piece is
registered
missing.
for a program.
Right. Fix
And
whatever
we
little
upload
piece
the
is missing.
rosters, and then they'll get the thing saying it's out of date. You gotta just go through and confirm information or change information.
So as far as this goes, regardless of if it's the old way, that was yes or no on MyRec, or it's this policy that, it's coming here and you need to send us an email. In doing so, you all did talk about this in the last meeting. Kind of something that slipped through the cracks was that we had already loaded this into Camp Docs when we re-signed a contract with Camp Docs this year. So when we got our first email, we were kind of surprised, like, hey, where's this coming from? But since then, out of the, we'll say a couple hundred people who have gotten the email about Camp Docs and signed, we have gotten 2 people who have sent us an email and saying, I'd like to wish out the photo op and things like that. So just to give you guys an idea, and I know that there was some controversy as far as like, is it going to work? Is it easy? It has seemed to be pretty easy for the couple people who have done it when this kind of fell through the cracks with going into Camp Docs. We would love to actually get a vote and enact this into place and, continue to give an update. Just like everything else we do, it's not an end all be all. If we figure out that something is hard for parents, then of course, we've done that. We've talked about those things and we've made the necessary changes every step along the way and everything we've ever done. But like, this does really seem to be working well. And to Kaz's point, like, we did reach out to the MRPA. We spoke to many different communities. This, with the exception of a couple little minor changes, is exactly from one of our colleagues' programs. So it doesn't make it harder for parents. I know that was the biggest worry. So that's I think it's a good thing for us to adopt this. It's something that a lot of places are doing and we can, help people navigate it through it relatively easily.
And this is, Shrewsbury does this.
Already, it's in place, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, having the parents that are signing up for it, if they don't like it, send an bring the piece of paper. I think that makes sense. Would this sort of be the official policy the way it's written now?
Yeah,
It's a
so
little-
this is the new update, so
It is
there's,
a little awkward, and it
which part of it?
just, the second line.
Recreation in writing via email or handed in person
Yeah,
before participation. I think, you just would like that to be rewritten, so it's not
grammar.
Deliver.
Via email or in
Handed in.
person. It's
handed
just
in.
via email or in person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We
Just
wanted to
take
make
out-
sure when we're going back and forth that people aren't just coming in and just telling us. what they should
You
do.
can also-
That's something As well. You know what I
we
mean?
wanted something tangible, not just a like,
Hey, by
hey,
the way,
Kaz,
yeah.
by the way.
yeah, no,
you know.
I'm totally.
Yeah.
I
Say
just think it's
delivered in person.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
could change,
that's
yeah.
good.
Handed can be changed to delivered.
I just had to, the reason why I say that is I had to reread that a couple of times. to
Yeah.
understand. It could just be me.
No, that's,
It's a little, it's not full.
Delivered in person. It's pretty precise.
always hard when you have to like in.
Yeah.
So, Kate, do you have anything?
I think I expressed my opinion on this pretty strongly last time, so I don't have anything else to add.
Kate, I was not at the last meeting. Are you in favor of this or do you have issues?
She was not being perfect.
I was opposed, as Alicia just said. Yeah, I was opposed to making it harder for parents to opt out. But I understand your point, saying that if people don't read documents, that's a whole other issue that's not going to be solved today by this. But just making parents write an email, send an email, just seems like an extra hoop for the parent to go through. So that's why I was pretty strongly opposed to this last week. Or last month, I should say.
I think I said change your mind.
No. I understand your point, but no, it doesn't change my opinion.
I mean, how many opt-outs do we get now?
Say about 10%.
So one of the issues with the opt-out thing now as well, and I've done it personally, is when you're going through the registration process, and if you're registering somebody on the phone and you're kind of going through it and you're talking them through that process, and sometimes it's even something as simple as like, there's no photos involved, I'm registering this person for a bus trip, and you just click no. In my records, just in there for perpetuity. So if no one ever goes in there and changes that, then that person's just stuck with that. If you had done that for one of your daughters back in second grade and just never thought twice about it, they're just in there like that forever. And the great thing about, moving it onto the Camp Doc side versus the MyRec side is now, like I said, you're getting the opportunity to at least like say, oh, once a year you're being reminded, my kid's a no photo, I'm going to switch that this year. Or, I forgot I was going to send this email and, make sure that this is on there. So
So, let me-
Thoughts.
Can I ask then, will the parent see, so someone who's not, brand new to registering in, would they be able to easily see I'm opted out, I want to opt in, or vice versa? Because that's a valid point, but we just said that this, I know you have to go through the Camp Docs paperwork every year. And so people may change their minds. Totally get that. Been one of those people. But how would you know if you're opted in or opted out to make that change? Is it in the paperwork that you see?
Well, you're gonna see this photo policy once a year now, Kate, so it's gonna remind you like, oh, I did this last year and I voted no, and I want to have that changed, at which point you would need to call the office. Same thing as if you're in my rep, you have to do the exact same thing. If you were a yes and you wanted to switch, you'd also have to do the same thing, regardless of where you were. You know, you have to contact us some way. Right
But it
now,
says in writing, not via phone.
To change it, you could call it in before.
But you're not gonna, there's not a,
You can write it in on a sheet, we have a book that we keep together for it.
no, I was thinking that in terms of like, as you go through the, you know, name, address, age, doctor's note, whatever, there's not a box that says photo, no photo.
No, there is
there's
not.
not.
So there's, you
Yeah.
won't know other than trying to remember whatever it is in the last.
And
Could
to that,
be
that's what I'm
if-
saying, to that end, like, we don't know that now.
So I know we could put tags on the accounts.
That's what we're doing.
Okay, so Kate, when you would go into Camp Docs, then we would be going, anybody that sent in that email that said they're no
Right.
photo, we can go in and tag them as no photo, so that's how you would see that on your account.
So you would see, so you would know if you wanted to change it. You
Yeah.
could, as a parent, you could see that.
Yeah, yep,
Okay, well, I mean, I definitely agree that a policy and updating
You have
it,
a
all
beach
that
pass?
is very good.
that one.
Kate, do you have a beach pass?
No,
Okay. If you did, when you had in your account, you would see that in your notes. So it tells you exactly like what all your information is there, and the way that we tag somebody who's a no photo, it would be in those administrative notes as well that you can just see in your homepage.
okay, well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I get that we don't want people who don't care or are happy to have their kids in pictures just to be checking a box as they're running through all the check boxes that are there.
It'll no longer have a checkbox that says yes or no.
No, I know, I realize that. What I'm trying to get to is there an in-between where you aren't accidentally checking the no photos box?
This policy right here is gonna fix that. If they really need to be
Yeah.
photo, they're gonna make sure.
Right.
This streamlines the amount of no photos that we get. A lot of places, like they said, bury it in their paperwork. They add it to a gigantic waiver, and then they just say you can't be in the program, or you say no to the whole policy. Do you know what I mean? So it's, I think this is something that I would hope you guys would trust us on the ground floor doing the work. That this is something that's gonna be better for us as a department. Certainly better for our employees to function and to be able to share the great things that we do. I appreciate the concern. But we did take this thing pretty through before, bringing this whole thing to light. We believe it's the best way to move forward with our photo policy based on our professional experience of doing the job.
No, I mean, yeah, I think I guess I would be willing to try it for a year or for a sign up season,
Revisit.
see what, if we get if we don't hear anything from parents or then we maybe continue. If we hear a pushback, we revisit. Is that-
One other thought. And I don't know, how. Good the sort of the access to the database is, but. You have like, when someone's registering, like have a drop down box, so it isn't a checkbox, but it's a drop down box that sends an automated generated email. So that, again, thinking about sort of the work effort that parents have, set a separate email. It comes still in the registration form, and there's a drop down box that sends an automated generated.
That's kind of, that's kind of what we're trying to get away from now, because right now, when you register in MyRec, it is a drop down and it's yes
Yes or
or no. And that's what we're trying to get away from. And
Okay.
to Kate's point, it is very simple right now. It's a yes or a no.
Yeah,
And it's almost a little, and that was what I was trying to say, it's almost a little too simple, because once you've done that, now that's it, like that's perpetuity. And no one really ever thinks to go back and change that, right? It's not, oh, I wasn't okay with it because we were in a certain situation at this time, or my kid was too young, or something like that. So now we have all of these kids who are impacted and not necessarily even still in the, like, we have a lot of parents, to Kaz's point, go, oh, I didn't remember checking that,
Almost all of them.
Because
and
when you go through the sign-ups, especially like something like AMP, there is a lot of like questions that you have to answer. And, you're going to get an email to fill out Camp Docs. Are you aware that you fill, yes, I'm aware of that. What size is your kid's t-shirt? You go through, like, it just asks you a whole series and you're just like, oh my gosh, when is this over now?
Right.
So, people just kind of go through and try to get through it as quickly as possible.
yeah.
And now, yes, it is an extra step, however, it's now once a year, it's, hey, this is our policy. If you want to not be a photo, send us an email. And then it's very easy for us
A
to
child's
go in
name,
and look.
so I want them to not be at the bottoms. Simple, yeah, go on my rec. I mean, I know you guys keep saying you want to make it easy, but this is purposely making it difficult. For the strict reason that people are just hitting the button by accident, or not even realizing they're doing it.
Well, it's not entirely, it's not.
It's
I don't
making
think
the
it's
process more
difficult.
thoughtful,
It is a
not
more
difficult.
thoughtful
It's
process,
making them,
Yeah, if you're-
by sending an email and saying my child is no photo, there's intent to that. Whereas right now, if they're just going through and checking the boxes and they're just a yes or no real quick, or, it's a no right now, but then there's nothing in our process, there's nothing in the system that allows them to go back and say, oh, I forgot that I was that. So this, yes, it's creating intent where there's not right now. And then it's creating a place for every single year to say, oh, that's a reminder, yeah, I did this, or let me go check on that. I would say lastly, Kate, if I can offer this, we are coming into one of our biggest enrollments, which, we just did ski club and we got a couple other things coming up. We could definitely get some feedback in our end of program survey. We could add that as a question, did you feel that the photo policy, update worked well? Was there, and then maybe bring that back to you in January, February. And if there's anything egregious, we can always look at taking a look at walking it back or changing something.
I think that would be a good idea, Tim, to make sure that people aren't just put out. I would hate to see people. It seems in town there already is a group that doesn't, for whatever reason, like Spark and Rec. I just don't want to feed the fire of having people say we're difficult to work with. And so that's my main concern. To your point about updating, I do remember updating the policy maybe it was pre our current software, because I know all those forms and all that paperwork, and I remember changing the status once our child was a certain age, because our opinion changed on that. So it used to be, if not currently, used to be an annual process, but also to Sal's point, if we give it a try. And if we hear there are, unhappy customers, that we rethink this policy. I don't want to go out there and have people say, oh my gosh, they're so difficult to work with. Now we have to do this. That's what I'm trying to protect the team from.
Agreed. And like I said, I mean, we could put that in our exit survey. We do exit surveys for our bigger programs, and that's definitely something that we could, it's a very simple, there's probably a question we could drop or add one in there and just see what the feedback is. But I will say overall, in the past couple weeks, in this being in, Camp Docs, we've had positive feedback, if you will, / no feedback. And the, few people who have needed to navigate it have, very easily gotten us the email, and there is a binder that exists, and it seems like it's going in the right direction.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, especially in today's world with AI and how easy it is to auto generate with AI, it's just something you have to be mindful of and not make it difficult. It's important to have these policies. I definitely appreciate all the thought that has gone into it. There's a lot of passion around this, I can tell. So I appreciate that. I just want to make sure we're doing right by our community.
Yeah, I think with those caveats of let's
Give it a couple months to come back to it.
let's do this round of signups. Get some feedback once those programs are done and come back to it before. Well, actually, we're not gonna do that. Because Camp T starts.
Well, Camp 2 will start, but I mean, we could, in theory, I mean, it's not hard for us to switch.
Usually don't upload the first Camp Docs until try to wait till that May 1st time to
Okay.
do it because of the turnover of the well visits and immunizations happen May 1.
I was gonna suggest that we come back to it in either February or March and just give an update at that point, because at that point before, like I said, we could very easily pull the
Do it
trigger. on that.
before the.
Yep.
So call it a trial policy.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
pilot.
Yep.
Pilot
program.
Guess I would say I make a motion to have this new photo pilot policy instituted, and then we'll review in March.
Kate, you want to second that?
Sure, that sounds fair. I second that.
All right, roll call vote. Peter,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Saul is a yes. Thank you, Kaz.
My friends.
Thanks, Kaz. I know you've done a lot to get that up and running.
Thank you, Kate.
All right, minutes, any notes or?
I did not get to review the minutes. I was also not here for November.
I didn't see anything that needed to be changed, so I could make a motion unless we need to talk about them.
I don't think so.
All right,
Second.
All right,
I will make a motion to accept the minutes from November 12th, 2024.
all right, again, roll call, Kate,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right. I guess next is Scott Brown.
Yeah, so Scott put in a resignation from the Park Commission. Apparently he received a new job role and his work commitments were gonna increase. So he felt like it was fair, to not be here for the commission. So, we do have to just acknowledge that, we do have a vacancy letter. Kate, you're not here, so you can't sign it. I do have to turn it in by noon tomorrow. But I can get Saul and Peter's signature. I think that should probably be good enough as chair and vice chair. Yeah, so, we appreciate all the time that Scott, put into the board and fully understands, you know, with work commitments, this is a volunteer role. So,
And I guess the select board of the TA's office has posted it previously or announced it at some other meeting.
no, so I did send an email to the, town administrator,
Okay,
to let them know when, he resigned. So we will have, so we have this moment, we're acknowledging it now. We'll acknowledge it, at the, Monday, December 16th meeting. If we have a quorum, because we would have to do a joint meeting, so I don't know,
I could be there.
if you're available.
I should be able to be there, although my recollection is that it is sort of desired that we do it as a joint meeting, but it is really the select board's
Review.
purview. I'm
So
pretty sure that,
Lisa checked in today with Diane Corey, and she
Okay.
said that it does have to be a joint meeting.
okay, I'm pretty
I
sure,
feel like when we brought you on, that it was just like you and me that were there.
Yeah,
Big
the last select board meeting I was at, they did the same thing.
Yeah.
Just appointed.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that when I was appointed to a partial term there, it was just the select board.
Yeah.
So-
Well, you got elected, so that's all good. Oh, so, yeah, I guess the feedback from town clerk was that it does have to be done.
Or at least should be. Well, we'll do our best then.
So there you go. I have that. We have quorum. Kate, do you think you would be able to attend on Monday, the 16th?
Where is it being held and at what time?
It will be at the library, but I do believe you could join via Zoom if you cannot physically be there.
Meeting usually starts at 6:30 or something.
6:30 or 7. Once we get the agenda, I'll know where typically I want to say they have like department stuff around 7 p.m.
Yeah.
That's pretty common.
I'm checking my calendar now. I don't think it's an issue, but I'm just checking.
Okay.
Sixteenth. I should be able to be there at the library, and if you can 6:30 at the library, I should be able to make that.
I'll send you out a calendar invite so that you will have the access to the Zoom meeting, just in
Okay.
case.
Okay.
Maybe a closer idea of the time frame that we should be going on.
Great.
So that being said, we have an applicant for the vacancy, Mr. Norm Young here. So I figured, we would just do a little intro, just so you guys can meet Norm if you don't know him already. You know, he's been on Little St. Jude baseball and softball for 6 years, the board specifically. And then helped coach, and helped out with the administration, he's been for 10+ years, right? And you've been, you know, a really great part of that sports council for the last few years as well. So, I don't know, any questions you guys have for Norm or, anything you want to say, Norm?
Oh, I think I just wanna help drive, you guys are doing a lot of great work. I just left the board as president, so I need something else to take up my time. So I'd like to be able to help the town and, you know, continue and support some of the great work that you guys do.
And just so you guys know, Norm has been instrumental with Dave as far as helping get a lot of the field and the tennis court project going.
Yeah.
He's been a big part of that on the sports council. So, in a way, he's been involved for a couple months now, intimately with that. So he's been a great asset to have and has attended select board meetings and stuff like that when we've needed some support in those moments. So.
Well, I'm sorry I'm not there to say hello to you in person, Norm, but hello from afar.
Nice to meet you virtually.
That's Lisa's voice from above.
Kids in the program?
So I have an 18-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 14-year-old, so yes, they've all been, so.
Yeah.
Camp T, flag football, and in fact, my youngest was in the flag football championship. Yes.
Great experience.
Norm watched televised on his phone at a banquet that he was at.
The phone under the table, so my mother would just see.
Oh my.
All right.
Okay. So Tim, I'll let you take over this one. We usually start the discussions on, beach topics, so.
Yeah, so
Here we
just to remind everybody who hasn't been here, we typically used to do this in November, or December, and we always just catch a lot of flack for it because people weren't really paying attention or it's not really great to do around the holidays. So this is just our annual reminder that in the next couple months, February, March, we're gonna try to set these rates. I know we have some conversations surrounding some funding mechanisms with Clean Lakes and things like that that we might want to entertain and talk about over the course of the next couple weeks going into months. But in an ideal world, I'd like to, visit this in February, really just kind of see, what our plan is. So just to kind of give everybody an idea, we are Memorial Day to Labor Day, these past couple years, 3 to be specific, and this will probably be our 4th. We'll probably close the Saturday, Sunday before Labor Day. Once sports start and everything, we just haven't been able to carry the staff. It also helps us be able to break the beach down and, put a cleaner product forward, as far as having the staff to be able to do such, which has been, well received in the past couple of years as far as how we've been able to put everything to bed down there. Monday through Saturday, we lifeguard from 10 a.m. to 5:30. Snack Shack is 10 to 5:30 and rentals are 11 to 4:30. 10 to 5. So sorry for the typo there. So the last boat has to be back in by 5. That's so that we have half an hour to clean everything up, pack everything up.
Monday to Saturday, or
Yeah, that's Monday through Saturday.
it's really,
But
is it all
the only thing that
same?
changes is the lifeguards don't go on until 11 on Sundays because
Okay.
typically we don't have anybody down there. The only thing, that I want you guys to just kind of think about, it comes up all the time, is, do we keep lifeguards on duty later? Do we keep the snack shop open later? We've talked about this as far as like, the main crush, people come down there afterwards after the lifeguards go off duty, just basically because the thought is, oh, there's nobody here to really check. So if, we're gonna have the conversation about, possibly creating a funding source for Clean Lakes and adding money to the beach passes or whatever else, this, especially people who live around the area who are, proponents of this, that would be a great thing for everybody to finally, jump in and say, hey, this passes, whether you're walking, riding, driving, no matter what, the money, like we've said for years, goes towards helping, the park, helping everything else and paying for those things. So, conversations to be had. Other than that, the other piece is just, do we open the beach later? Keep people on, later in the day. Something to think about. So anyway, as far as it goes, this is what we had last year. So families up to 5 people were $90 for residents, $150 for non-residents. Just as a reminder, everybody, the resident, non-resident rate cannot have a departure of more than 30%. So we can't just jack up the non-resident rate, not move the resident rate. So just be mindful of that as we're talking about these kind of things. 30-50, 50-95 for couples. Our senior resident is 15, non-resident 25, and senior couple 25-40. So we do have the senior couple that, like, if they're a grandparent and they're a child care person, that they can add, their grandchild at $10 or $15 per member, just to kind of help people out with that. That was something that we enacted during COVID that we've kept going on since then. And then additional parking, we do make a considerable amount on the parking at $10 and $20, which is pretty standard for everywhere. And if you are coming in and you're just parking instead of having a membership, it's $10 or $20 covers the car and the driver's band for the day, and then the $4 or $5 per person for for the wristband for the day. Other than that, that's really what we have. I can send this out via email if anybody wants to kind of deep dive into it. I've had conversations with Saul and, you know, we've looked at the figures and, you know, historically gone over certain numbers. You know, last year we, you know, ran up against another year where, you know, the beach did not make money. In fact, we deficit spent, and a large part of that was the pathway and some other stuff that we did. So, you know, in overall budgeting, we do have to look where some of these special projects that kind of pop up go into, you know, and the other piece is just making sure that, you know, we're staying ahead of the curve. We have a very good rate of retention, so typically we're on the higher end of our payroll. We don't necessarily bring in a lot of people at step one because we're only hiring 2 or 3 new people a year down there. It's a job that people like and they come back every year. We're very fortunate for that. So just kind of staying ahead of that is just something that we have to do. And I've been going through and looking at, you know, money that we spend on sailing and things like that. And how do we, you know, break things out so that we can be a little, you know, typically the most that we've ever made was, you know, about $15,000 in the summer, and that was the summer after COVID when we were just slammed. But you know, it's not a huge moneymaker for us, and it is a break-even thing, and we run very, very tight margins. So we have to make sure that, you know, when we're doing this, that we're doing it the right way. And you know, we are very competitive / cheaper than everyone else around us by a long shot.
Couple of questions. Where did we land on the annual pass for rentals? And we talked about that a couple of.
Are you talking about like a boat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boat rental.
We haven't gotten there yet. So the first thing we would need to figure out is how to create storage down there.
Well, I think there's two, there were two concepts or programs potentially. One was a storage rental. So for people to bring their own boats down and keep them there.
Right.
The other was just a membership for our rentals. So rather than paying a per hour
Every
fee,
time,
you
yep.
just pay at the beginning of the season as part of your membership and check it out for a month.
Okay. So I don't remember talking about, I must have missed that meeting, but it's a good idea.
Yeah, what did we talk about?
Isn't that kind of
August.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's an easy one. The bigger one would be like where we put storage racks, but the like having it part of your membership for the year,
Yeah, I was just
that's actually pretty awesome.
that way, I mean, people don't have to, let's say hypothetically, you wanna rent a boat a number of times during the summer. And the membership, sort of the year-long membership will pay for it, as opposed to going.
Right, like an add-on time, like here's an extra $50 per person.
Yeah.
2 times pays for the summer.
And maybe people use it a lot and some people get it and not use it.
Exactly, yeah, there you go. No, that's a great idea. That one's easy, so we can definitely, I don't know if, you know, I'll look on Google and see if anybody else does anything similar, or to your point, like what does it cost for something like that, if it's a ski pass,
Yeah, I mean, that's
a bike rental, it'd probably be more like in the bike rental world, I bet you there's places that do something like that.
yeah, I mean, the community boating in Boston is on that.
Oh, yeah.
You buy a membership and. Well, I think they might even have a just kayak membership.
Check it out.
Because they've done a lot of kayak and paddleboard rentals, which. Big boost for them.
Yeah. I'm like, I ever see the sailboats.
You only ever see the sailboats, there's a
Yeah.
lot of kayaks and
Interesting.
paddleboards coming out there too. And I think they actually, the sailboats, they don't really do on a daily rental. It's only by membership.
Okay,
But I think you can do like hourly or daily on the kayaks with that. So it's kind of coming at opposite directions.
That's great, yeah. Anything else?
I just had this in here
No,
as well.
I didn't know if
Okay,
there
so
were
sorry.
questions.
Sorry. That's another question. What's the senior age for senior?
60 plus.
60.
More years.
There you go.
I did think it would be, this has been brought up by a resident or two. Yeah, maybe it's just the snack shack and rentals or some. And maybe, maybe we start with 1 or 2 nights a week, but something that goes later in the evening, just to give people the opportunity to. It'd be nice to have, honestly, it'd be nice to have the bathrooms open because there's plenty of activity down there. If the snack shack and some rentals can support a couple of staff.
Yeah.
uh,
Would
Yeah,
you
I mean,
wanna do that
the-
without
the-
lifeguards though? That's the,
So that's question number one. Question number two was like, we tried that, the summer before COVID and we got a lot of flack for, you know,
Checking parking.
checking parking and
Checking
doing all those
memberships and-
things.
yeah.
And yep. And I definitely think it would be great. I mean, there are a lot of people who can't get down there. It's the other thing that we try to do. And, you know, I'd really like to turn the leaf this year is, you know, we had the idea of doing like food trucks on Thursday down there and staying open on Thursdays. I still think that would be, you know, a pretty awesome opportunity and, you know, a great opportunity, especially for some of the local businesses who we have it at some of our other events to come down and found this announced Thursday, people aren't traveling. It's just like a good night. So, I mean, yeah, that's something that I think everybody would want to do. And I know the staff would love the hours.
I mean, one suggestion I did hear was, and maybe this is a way to ease into it, maybe do that once a month as a open house and not have the memberships and the parking requirements. Something that, the food trucks bring in activity or something else that we can.
Yeah.
To justify it.
Yeah.
But
It's like second Thursday at the beach.
Yeah, well, that's something Joe Knox and I are sitting down to kind of revamp that. So we'll see what third Thursday is gonna look like this year.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna try to do away with a couple of them and spread them out throughout the year rather than back to back to back, because they haven't really been as productive as they were pre-COVID.
But yes, maybe it's a once a. I don't know what the reaction would be if we had food trucks there every week, if it turns into it, because I know that. The one we had, it was a big party with the band. and
Yeah,
everything
the
else.
kickoff summer party.
The kickoff was big,
yeah,
but that drew a big crowd and a lot of people. If that was a weekly event, I think that would be a bit much, but.
Yeah, last year, the Rotary, I think, ran the carnival,
think
and
we
this
go
guy
forward
over
to
here
the
ran his
next Saturday.
baseball jamboree the same night too.
But we still sold out the pizza trucks. So.
yeah.
Yeah, no, so yeah, just anything like that, if
Yeah.
you wanna just send me emails, kind of sit down, come in, we'll have conversations, but. Really try to get this kind of package together for February, March, so that we can vote on it, we can put it out there and up on the website.
Yep.
The goal is always April 1st to have, sales open.
Yep.
That way we can start having a funding mechanism for our staff trainings and all of that kind of stuff.
And if anybody's out there watching this on repeat or YouTube wants to send us a suggestion or comment, please do.
Thank you.
And so are you suggesting, have you thought about, this is the rates from last year, change or no change or?
Haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
I gotta run the numbers. We haven't really seen, we're right in the middle of the budget stuff right now too, so
We also have to talk about this.
we have to talk about this too, which.
So, at the end of November, the Clean Lakes Committee turned in a budget to the town administrator's office. So essentially for fiscal year 26, which will be starting July 1st, 2025, so this upcoming year. They would be asking for $10,000 from Parks and Recreation. And then increasing that by $5,000 each following year. So I have asked, John Folsom, the chair of the Clean Lakes Committee, to just come in and chat with you and Peter, so that we can kind of go over the numbers, they just seem a little arbitrary.
Yeah, so
So,
what's the justification, what's the,
Hence,
Why-
hence having.
why like, hey, let's get $10,000.
Right.
Parking.
Yeah, well, and the other issue, and we've talked about this, and I know that you guys know this process as well, as Tim had mentioned earlier, you know, money coming into the beach is a bit fickle. So it's, you know, if you're asking for 10,000, we can't necessarily guarantee we're gonna get that. You know, if we put on, like a percentage or a percentage increase to the rates. Or like, you know, let's just say we're gonna add $5 onto every, you know, membership, and then that goes to them. It still is, you know, I truly don't think we'd be able to make 10 grand. So these are things that we just kind of need to have that conversation with them and.
And what do they wanna use
Yeah.
this, do they wanna use the money dedicated solely for
I
weed
also
removal,
don't,
clean lake?
yeah.
stuff?
I don't have a full explanation of that. They did kind of go through, the things that they had done in previous years. So yes, weed removal, was one of those components. What is I can't think of what it's called. There was something Rob was talking
Oh,
about getting
yeah,
rid of the algae. That was
the,
something that's proposed for next year.
Dash diver assisted
Yeah,
or dive something. It's basically using a diver in a vacuum to pull out growth from specific areas.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the rationale is from the discussions I've had on and off with them, that yes, these would be funds dedicated to Long Lake, sort of quality of use improvements, whether that's weed removal or trying to figure out how to get the water cleaner, clearer.
the Muck Island rules. That was-
The Muck Island removal
Yeah.
was part of that, so, you know, essentially looking at it as we are a heavy user of that resource and should support the improvement of it.
I mean, I still stand by, you know, number one, you know, as looking at this, it's something that definitely has to have like, here it is, here's the plan, clear plan, bids attached to it, things like that. Like, it can't be an arbitrary number that it's just like, hey, this is what we're getting. You know, I think historically, we need to see like, well, what was Light and Water paying to have the services done by those guys coming out? How were they done? Right? We don't know what that number is. I think that it's worth the ask. The other thing is that, you know, if we're gonna be authorizing funds or creating funds or whatever this is going to be, you know, one of you needs to have a seat on the Clean Lakes Committee so that we can be driving the conversation, or at least these need to be joint meetings. It can't be you know, a separate entity just saying, hey, we want X number of dollars. And then, you know, if this is money that's coming out of the Park and Rec funds, or if we're generating these funds, then it needs to be something that we have absolute control over, whether they're submitting the bills to us or whatever it is, because ultimately it'd be the same thing, in my opinion, as field paint. Highway sends us the bill and you essentially, when you come in and sign the AP packet, you sign off on it, or you have questions, you say, yeah, that's not gonna happen. There needs to be complete control over the funds. It's not just, we should be submitting this to the TA's office if we're gonna be the ones who are raising the money, not Clean Lakes.
Yeah.
I think they were asked to do that, so that,
I understand that exercise. I'm just saying, if it's going to go like this, that's the way that, in my opinion, especially, you know, knowing that in our best year, we've never made $10,000 at Long Lake.
Yeah.
We made $9,700 is what we came out with. That it's something that we really have, it's not attainable right now, and there has to be a really good plan, and we have to go into the budget season like, we would have needed to bid out RFP, RFQ, whatever you want to call it,
If we were.
at the end of August and put this into the budget for next year. So that's what we would need to do for this next fiscal process that's coming up. It's already too late, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers. They're just kind of, like you said, arbitrary.
I don't think they've spent $30,000 on the lake in the history of, you know,
30,000.
light and water. I very highly doubt that that's a number that you would see that they spent on Long Lake.
I don't know about Long Lake. They've spent a significant amount of money the last couple of years on the weed. And that is a large,
Yeah, I
Cause
mean, my biggest concern, like I said, is that, you know, I would like to see what the plan is for that 10,000, like, you know, is that an arbitrary number, or is there legitimate, you know, projects that add up to that amount?
I mean, I mean, I haven't dug through their budget recently. I think there certainly are projects that could add up to that amount easily.
But that's what I'm saying is it can't just be, hey, we want to do this project, so we're going to do it. So we need this much money. It needs to be, here's our plan. What can we achieve this year?
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree with that at all. And I think it, as you said, I tend to agree that I think it makes sense for us to contribute to cleaning up the lake, because I don't know if it's gotten worse or I notice it more, but the experience in the lake is not fantastic.
Yeah.
The water there's a lot of stuff growing in it, and you come out covered in algae and green stuff.
Smell like mud.
It smell like mud, and
It is a lake, a pond.
yeah, but you could, I mean, it is, if you actively manage it, I think it could be a more enjoyable experience for everybody. So,
I also think that, the argument could be made that because it hasn't been the focus, because it's not it's not for the drinking water, the bulk of the care has not gone towards Long Lake, even when even when the funding was there.
that's probably, well, yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly been true in the last few years when they changed the funding structure.
Right.
Because Light and Water felt like they could only work in the areas that were attached to drinking water. So,
Like, I think the biggest, outside of like them removing the invasive material, like us hiring the Goose Patrol has been like one of the best things that we've done to be able to help the water quality at Long Lake.
And to that end, I mean, that is something that we spend a significant amount of money on, just so everybody is aware. This year, we're gonna be on the hook for somewhere in the neighborhood of an additional $2,000, because now that we switched to have a health official, we are now gonna have to pay for water quality tests, which used to be free through the Neshoba Valley. So I'm working on that right now I did reach out to Neshoba Valley to see what the fee was. There is a fee they charge for non-members. Everything I can tell on the website, it's gonna cost us anywhere between $2,000 and like $2,500 to do those weekly tests. Because our Board of Health agent is unable to do those things.
I did talk to Jim today, and he had mentioned that we will be able to work with them through June 30th. So we at least have June covered, but if we do want to contract with them July through August, that's something we can look into.
That is another cost that's gonna pop up.
Yeah.
Does the Clean Lakes Committee work with GCR's Lakes and Ponds program? They have.
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be a good, if you wanna reach out to John Folsom and ask him that question.
Well, do we have a re-meeting?
Well, I've asked today, I sent
Oh.
a request for us to sit down and have a in-person meeting. With the hope that in January, we can have a discussion at our next our commission think about it, so.
I did mention the salt, so two of our staff, I ran into them at the Bazaar, they're on the environmental club. And I did kind of, mention to them, this is something that we're talking about and, you know, it's something through Clean Lakes and we're trying to do this, so. They were gonna go back to their advisor and see if it was something that, you know, they might be able to work on through the environmental club to help us figure out funding mechanism or something like that. You know, because at the end of the day, there's probably stuff out there that we can apply for either grant wise or things like that, you know, we might be able to.
Yeah, the other, just in terms of, and I don't know how we will end up structuring this if we end up doing it, but it would be worth looking into whether or not we could, assuming you know, figure out a structure and say whatever it is, some amount per transaction. I don't think it makes sense to commit to a fixed dollar amount. It's going to be
I think a project by project, it's something that's jointly done.
well, I mean, in terms of expenditures, yes, but I mean, if funding, maybe we start a surcharge or a percentage or something and just start putting funding in. Because the projects can be, I mean, you can do small projects, or if you build up a reservoir, I mean, I think they were talking about hundreds of thousands for the weed removal.
The milfoil removal, but is it milfoil removal on the beach side or is it milfoil removal on the other side of the?
Yeah, and they in the conversations I've had with John, which have been brief, they are, I think, very amenable for long lake projects that are really directed at improving usability and enjoyability over. It's not, Long Lake, I think, is less of a lake health concern. There's certainly more growth than they would like, but compared to Spectacle and Forge Pond, there's not as much overgrowth. But no, I think the other possibility would be to well, I don't know if this is allowable or not based on the revolving fund and other things, but to funnel the money through CPC.
Yeah, we'd have to look into that.
Yeah,
I don't know, some of those buckets you just can't
right.
cross the streets, you know?
Just because that would give us the opportunity to get a little bit of match from the state if they increase the funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just based off of last year's numbers to give you guys a ballpark, at every membership level, if we wanted to get to that $10,000, everything would need to go up approximately $18 per membership.
That's a big jump.
So I know, well, Kaz is not here, so this is maybe not a popular opinion, but I would think hard about a small surcharge on Camp T. They use the lake. We can make the lake cleaner. It'll be a happier experience for everybody. And that's a big number in terms of people. So it's a much broader spread.
Funding for the town.
So they are asking for funding through the general fund. They do not currently. So, but yeah, they are.
Yeah, I don't know if you probably haven't thought that. So for a period of time, the cell tower somewhere was funding Clean Lakes directly. And the state told us we weren't allowed to do that. I forget all the details, but
Had to be the money had to be managed by a board, not a committee.
so, is that what- okay.
I believe
And
that's what it
so
is.
then it landed with the water department. who felt like they could only use it around water related or water source related areas. And the funding kind of dried up where it was harder to use.
Other,
For other, yeah,
yeah, something that's not in the water table.
Long Lake is not a water supply, so. So Clean Lakes has been in a bit of, they're trying to figure out their funding. So they are asking for the town to start providing some direct funding. They're asking a fair amount from CPC.
Yeah,
I think one of the biggest things that, we can also do is, my plan was to address the Rotary. The Appleman Triathlon is a very, very large funding source, and I think that could be a possible, place to look and say, hey, this is what we're trying to accomplish, and what can you guys put towards, from the Appleman, what is the donation back for this?
Sure.
And then on top of that, if we wanted to, come up with some sort of other event, whether food truck, whatever.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I mean, one of the discussions was, do we, for this cleanup process, specifically cleaning the swim route.
I think the first, and we shouldn't talk money, we should talk about what's the plan?
Yep.
What is the plan for whatever activities to clean? And then start thinking about where the money's coming from.
and that's
I mean, I feel like we're sort of ahead of it.
and that's why I said that was my first statement. Like, we need like hey,
Yeah,
this
plan.
is exactly what we're gonna do, and this is what's gonna cost. And then we can say, okay, well, we're gonna cut X, Y, and Z because we just can't get there.
like when we go through our capital funding or CPC funding, that's the process that we have. We have to figure out how much the things are gonna cost first. Go present that, and then that's when, you can ask for the funds. So,
And I would agree, if we're gonna, spend money this year cleaning up the swim box and doing, getting all that thick gelatinous material out of there that we can. I think that would have impact and maybe drive people back to bring more people in, and then that surcharge becomes nominal because it's now shared across the board.
And I don't know that is the right, I don't know if that dash process is the right thing
right,
for our problem. Cause I don't, from what you guys have said, it is not largely a case of things growing in the swim box.
it's the,
It's
like,
just, the-
material below.
yeah.
Right, yeah,
Whereas
I think
it's just a gook.
right, and I think the dash is specifically to like remove.
I mean,
Plants.
I think one of the first, just personally, I think one of the very first steps and something that causes some of that to get into there is the fact that we haven't stuck to the maintenance plan. We didn't dredge the frog pond. We haven't done the clean outs.
So that was,
A lot of the stuff is passing through into the lake right now because the catch basin that's supposed to be catching it is not been maintained properly.
yeah, I mean, there is. I don't think we want to get into, yes, there's a bigger
Okay,
problem,
yes,
there's a bigger problem of nutrient.
Yeah.
Addition to the lake. But, yeah, I think we want to figure out how we can address it, whether that there are, additives that are supposed to eat muck and
Right.
aeration to help the, I mean,
Great.
it's not, I mean, I don't know the utility of them, but they are in a lot of places.
That's true.
And they supposedly do have some utility.
And I think in this too, Peter, one of the things that I put forth in one of our conversations, just if we are gonna, seriously do this, which, it does benefit everything that's happening at Long Lake. I think the very first step is, everything that we talk about is really conjecture until we have a professional come in and say, hey, X, Y, and Z is what really should be done.
Yeah,
And I think, that should be our first step is get an environmental expert out here and say, okay, if you want the biggest bang for your buck, or, here's your 5-year maintenance plan. And if you follow these things, you are gonna see an impact.
Right.
Because there's nobody, to my knowledge, there's nobody on Clean Lakes who wears that hat either, who comes from that background.
I don't know, yeah,
Um,
backgrounds.
So I think that, would be our first our
Yeah.
first step that we should take is find that person and say, okay, how do we truly make this better?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. No, I agree. Okay. Um. Yep, okay, no,
Is that,
And,
we're moving on?
I think, yeah, let's move on. That's good.
All right, so, unfortunately, I really do not have a project update. I'm not sure if any of you, I think Saul was on the email, anybody else who was following along at home, who's part of the email chain, we went a little over 3 weeks battling out 2 words in the activity cost contract. Basically, the lawyers were just back and forth, the company owner, to the point that there was, almost 30 emails, and finally they figured it out, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That everybody gave it their blessing, the contract was signed. In that time, I had Cory checked all of our land tech guys, so the actual surveyors are Cory checked and ready to go. Unfortunately, at this time, everything kind of got backed up in the holiday season. We're trying to get them out here. Unfortunately, due to weather, tomorrow's not an ideal day, and we're kind of chasing that right now. So as soon as surveyors can get here, I will let everyone know what day they're going to be here. The design has started, however, nothing can actually happen until we have the surveys done and we can actually start to put those to the architectural drawings. So at this point, we're about 3.5 weeks behind where we hope to be. But I will work with Jonathan to figure out where we can. We're not going to have the bid package ready. We were hoping to go to the planning committee meeting, which is not gonna happen in December now. So now that's gonna be a January thing. So, we're kind of a month back, and hopefully we can get it done on the front side of January so we can still bid everything out and get the contractors that we're looking for. And,
Planning is for stormwater or something else?
so just the regular building permits. So all of our stormwater and yes, there will be a stormwater thing. Conservation gave us the clean bill of health, to just go forth. So it's really just whatever we need to go through for planning. Yeah, so hopefully I'll have a better update for you in January, but we are a month behind at this point, which isn't, I know it's not what everybody wanted to hear, but we're gonna hammer down and try to catch up.
Does PMBC get involved in this project?
It's not vertical construction.
Gotcha.
So it's not a building. So, no, just the
That
plan, and
is
once
there.
planning gives us all of our. What?
No, I said that's the vertical construction is the,
Terminology, yeah.
got it.
If we did a 2-story snack shack, then we'd be talking something different, so.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not vertical construction, so there are certain things that we don't have to go through.
Yeah.
But fingers crossed in January, I'll have a much better update for you. Hopefully we'll have plans and we'll be talking about that to take to the planning board, and we'll be putting out our bid package.
36 King Street, so, I had mentioned last month, it's still the same, the new completion date is gonna be in May. We won't really know if that changes until we find out about, the HVAC units that, are on back order, so when we can know when they're actually gonna arrive. Cause there's other work that's linked to them being installed that's getting pushed off. There is a PMBC meeting tomorrow night, and there is a rather large change order that's gonna be put in.
For this?
So if that gets approved, then there's gonna be a lot of projects that they can get moved with. Internally putting up, the drywall, all that stuff, so. And then you already talked about it at the beginning of the meeting, but yeah, just setting up a meeting with Mark Rombacher and Justin McCarthy. So that we can start figuring out the building usage. That's all I got.
So with a May move-in date,
Mm.
and that's probably optimistic at this point.
We'll see.
We'll see what that,
Just what we want to do is move in the middle of summer when all of our programs are
right.
running.
Well, and that was gonna be I think we had a quick discussion and
Yeah.
figure out if we need to have further discussion, but existing programs at Shattuck Street will continue to the end of the summer, is that, or through the end of the school year?
So the discussions that I've had thus far are the club, which is on the third floor of 41 Shattuck. That we've asked for that to continue through the end of the school year. So that would be through June. And when we do move our offices out, it sounds like the desire of town hall is to move building up to the floor. Where we currently are, I guess, building conservation, what's that?
It's the land use.
Land
It's
Department.
land use department. I don't know if they're using that term anymore, but yes. And then potentially we should be able to use that basement part where they are currently as a preschool. The issue that we have is we don't know how long we have in that building. And then the second piece is where do we move the preschool program to while we're trying to change, locations. So, it's a program that is already completely sold out this year. And as we go into the summer and it becomes a 5-day-a-week program, we really can't lose the funds. We can't take that program away. So we really need to have something solidified as to where that is going to live.
Do an opening date for the center on Shattuck Street?
I want to say they said March.
I think it's gonna be after that. I was talking to Liz today.
Yeah,
They should be done interior construction by March. And then she was saying landscaping and, other stuff is gonna continue through about April. So I think they're looking more like May right now.
What exactly will be in that building that's going in?
which building, Kate?
Is it the Council on Aging and that who's moving into the building where the tennis courts were?
Yeah, that's it. Elder and Human Services.
Yeah, I mean, if they're moved in there, it seems like there is potentially space. You got the multi-purpose room and things on that end of the building. It's gonna be pretty empty. If you guys in schools are in 36 King Street, then there's plenty of empty space in Shattuck Street. We just have to figure out where and how to use it while they're shuffling things around on the other end.
Yeah, I think the bigger concern is like, once everybody moves out Shattuck Street, there's no space. Once that building does go away, whether that's tomorrow or whether that's 5 years down the road.
Oh, yeah. What's
Correct.
So that's the bigger overarching.
Yes.
concern.
We can all call in the 5 of you and say, hey, we're moving the preschool downstairs. Come on, bring all your friends.
But yeah, that we don't,
But I mean, it's gonna, I was just thinking in the short term of, there's gonna be whatever it is, 2 or 3 months of overlap while land use tries to go from downstairs to upstairs, right? There's
And
that
that's,
issue.
and that's the issue. It's like,
we do need to sort that out. There
Right.
does need to be some sort of timeline for the program. The program needs to know, how are we supposed to schedule? How do we communicate
Yeah.
with the participants? Obviously, the least amount of changes is ideal. I don't want to say, hey, this week we're gonna be at this location and next week we're gonna be at that location.
Or, I mean, do we look at one of the school buildings for the summer?
I think we're maxed out in space, but we can definitely,
Yeah,
We were maxed out
we've already asked those questions for the
Well,
most part.
at Shaker Lane, right? But there are 3 other buildings.
But the little kids in a bigger building, it's not necessarily conducive. I mean, if the basement the first floor where land use is now. It's kind of more, it's kind of more of an optimal place to put that program. And there is growth potential down there, but the problem, like I said, is it's not about moving that program. That part's kind of already figured out. We can do that.
Yeah.
It'll fit well down there. There's places we can grow. There's things that we could do. It's there's a need for it. People, it is a sold out program. It's been a sold out since we started the program. And now it's like, well, what's the space afterwards?
And we also don't know the timeline of how long town hall will be in that building.
Right,
I mean, I would assume we'd have at least 3 years.
yeah, I was guessing 5, but
Yeah, 3 to 5 years, 3 on the low end.
I think that's probably fair. But that is I mean, that's a discussion. I think the other one is as the Shaker Lane project progresses. That the new part of the old building. Yeah, is that viable? Is that a useful structure? Do we? push it to
I know
that?
that's come up a few times, so they have said that the demolition fully of that building is part of the plan.
That's what Saul was saying. We have the conversation, try to save some of it.
I'm saying I don't know that that is a conversation that we can have, because my understanding is that it is already part of plan that's been presented.
Well,
It
yeah,
hurt.
it's worth a
Yeah.
discussion.
Costs less money not to knock it down. Save them 30% of the removal cost.
Well, and so part of that is that if the demolition is part of the project, it's included in the reimbursement. So, but I don't know if that changes if it's on a partial demolition or.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's probably, that's the reason that they're including it, because they get reimbursed for the demolition if it's done as part of the project.
Yep.
But
So that's something, in that meeting, with Justin, that might be a good question to ask.
and I don't know, I have not been part of discussions about that building. I don't know if that part of the building is viable. I know there's some newer HVAC in that part versus the other part. I just don't, is that another one where if you did some demolition to it, you'd have to bring the whole new part up to code, which I suspect you would,
Yeah.
then become
Cost prohibitive.
cost prohibitive.
They were saying just to bring up the building to code was basically more than, I think, if we got the reimbursement from the state, would be more to do that than to build a new building, in essence,
Yeah, but that was the full building, not
right?
the,
Portion.
yeah, you get rid of most of the classroom wing, which is the old part of the structure that is the least close to code. But in terms of a long-term option, that seems like the only likely place.
I mean, or you can put an addition on the Indian Hill.
And
Or you
that's
put an
what I was
addition on it,
suggesting.
right? That's, you
for-
talked about that.
Even in
Yeah.
a temporary situation, I did have Kaz go look at for Camp T at the rate of growth we're going now. We went down and we walked the Triumph trailers, we looked at, what's module space look like in that little area adjacent to Indian Hill in the future if we need to grow before we can, come up with a plan. Because, we could get temporary structures, just like they have the modular classrooms outside in a lot of schools you see. That's something that we could utilize for preschool space as well. So like, these are, we have thought about a lot of these things. It's a lot more tolerable than you would think as far as the cost.
Okay.
So yeah, we looked at possibly doing that, putting them out back of Shaker Lane if we weren't able to get the classroom space that we had needed, so.
Okay. Maybe there's lots of projects in town, so we'll
It's true.
keep an eye on it.
You wanna go over this one?
Yeah, so if you weren't here, you missed one of the greatest nights in Littleton of the year. So Ugly Sweater
Fantastic.
Trivia Night, we did our fundraiser for Holiday Helpers. We did a Ugly Sweater Trivia Night, the Outlook, thank you to the Outlook Restaurant for hosting us, at no fee to us. They graciously allowed us to come in, and they had a food menu, and the bar was open, and pretty much anyone who was anyone in Littleton was there. There was a lot of FOMO on social media afterwards, and we've had many requests for when we're doing this again, because A, they either had fun, or B, we can't believe we missed it.
Yeah.
But it was packed in there. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you to Joe Knox. His real estate group sponsored the band. Bobby Crench and the Mighty Oak Fund had an amazing basket raffle with some really awesome stuff, from ski passes to wine baskets to a signed Taylor Swift album. So that raffle alone that he ran raised $1,339.18. Thank you, Bobby, for rounding to the nearest dollar. And then on top of that, we had a lot of local businesses who Bobby reached out to, and they donated some awesome baskets as well. And then we had Collective there. Collective did a significant donation to the Holiday Helpers program. They also came out, this was one of our first and only events that it was 21 and older only. So as per their state guidelines, they, wanted to come out and be part of it. So that was awesome to see them there. Very well received by everybody who came out. So thank you to Collective. They sponsored all of our prizes. So the winning team all got hams, the second place team got turkeys, and the third place team got a box of chocolates, as you can see right there. And then we did our ugly sweater contest. We had voting, but it was an absolutely incredible night. Thank you to everybody who played a part in putting it together, and making it such a successful event. We'll definitely be doing it next year. We may be doing one in March, but more to come.
Awesome.
So there were 20 teams, so there were probably over, I would say, 130 people in that space.
So just registered,
Not including serving staff.
registered teams, we did, it was close to 130, the actual number was 127. But we definitely maxed out the Outlook, we had closer to about 225 people up there,
Awesome.
barely get through.
Yeah.
As you can see by the photo, everyone was seated, and that's how full it was.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
yeah, it was awesome. And then thanks to Jack Reed, and his band, Jack and Brian plus one, they played. So it was really just such a good night. We had to kick everybody out there at 11:19.
19 on the dot.
They overstayed. They're welcome.
So we do have to accept the donation from Mighty Oak. So you get that vote on that.
I make a motion to accept the donation of
1339.18.
1339.18 from Mighty Oak Fund raffle.
I will second that.
Roll call vote, Peter,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and yes from me. Thank you to Mighty Oak.
And I know I mentioned it earlier, and I would be remiss without saying something, but we were invited to the Rotary breakfast last month, the Rotary lunch last month, and they gave us a $2,500 donation as well. So thank you to the Rotary for making that possible. So with all the funds that we did bring in, we have more than enough to cover the tags that weren't picked up. So we just went through the Amazon registry today, got about 76 items that were on there. And we have 30-ish tags left on the tree. So that's where we're at right now. But, even if nothing else gets picked up, through those generous groups, we have plenty to cover what we need to get and do 100% fulfillment again this year.
Awesome.
Great job to Kelsey, to Melanie. Alicia does Bowman's work on this thing. So thank you, Alicia. You do an amazing job on this program.
I do want to go over the budget with you guys in 20. Everything, so,
Sounds good.
all right. We did this, we're moving on past that. All right, director, so just doing a quick finance report, I'll go into, I still didn't find a way to do a nice version of that. So I will work on that and bring
We
that to
can-
you in January.
Yeah, or we can sit down at some point and
Okay.
just hack through it.
So what I've got right now is just, year to date, so where we are right now. You know, we're still in the positive. This should be the last month where, we're kind of, I don't like using the word deficit spending, but we kind of are. So this should be the last month. The summer program registrations will open in January, and then that's usually when we move into the 6 months of, you know, bringing money in for the year. So this is always kind of that like tight realm where we're at right now. But we're doing really good. So, yeah. Well, like I said, we'll see the, revenue tick up next month. We did finally get the, United Way grant sorted, so it is signed. We are going to move forward with that. So I did add that in because that's something that essentially will be revenue that goes towards the club specifically. You know, it's nice to be able to have that extra help there with that. But that's where we're at. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, all right. We have no new business. Unless you do. Kate?
Yeah, I've got nothing.
Public input?
Done.
Old business, we don't have any, so that gets us to our budget events.
All right.
So I just gotta make a motion.
Take a motion to adjourn.
Peter,
I second that.
All right, Peter,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
yes, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.